Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Dale West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server and G+, so I can set up for today's live show. Say again?
You guys celebrate Easter in across the pond?
Didn't we invent Easter? I'm pretty sure we invented Easter, Neil.
Of course. You invented everything. You know, I was talking about that yesterday. My wife had somebody over. I was saying, because she's from the Philippines, and my wife's from Guyana, and they were talking about if they were, like, from England. Did England come and colonize there? I was like, you know, for a little small land on the freaking map, they sure conquered a lot of shit.
No swearing, please.
That's not a swear word. That's another thing we talked about.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm sure we did. But the world we inhabit now is all that really matters. Who cares? Me joking about.
Yeah, but still, they colonized a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hello. Righteous. How's it going? Long time no see.
Yeah, I've been busy with other stuff. I heard before the weekend, and even like during the weekend, that there's a lot of use of the N-word. Can we like not use the N-word at all?
Yeah, thanks,
because it's skirting around the TOS.
Yeah, thanks for that.
We're a day late and a dollar short, right?
Yeah, it's a bit late for that. Thanks for that. Right. Thanks anyway. But yeah, no worries.
We won't say. I was going to say it just to break your chops, but I won't do it.
All right.
No problem. Yes.
So how's everybody doing?
Very well. How are you?
That's good to hear.
This cracker over here is doing fine.
Oh, let's not do that.
Let's not use those terms either. Come on. Even for joking.
But wait a second. I can't call myself. Well, technically, I'm Italian. And I'm not a cracker, so I guess.
No,
yeah.
Clearly not, Neil. Righteous is coming in to tell us so. What do you reckon? Bloody hellfire.
You guys gotta also realize it's for like the benefit of everybody else, right? Like, if this stuff is not enforced, other people get caught in the crossfire, and they'll lose their accounts too for just being on the server.
We totally get it.
Right.
Just to let you know, it wasn't used in a bad way. Nathan kind of softened the blow, but they didn't get it.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
I've heard complaints, and I don't know exactly what was said, but there was complaints, and that word, I put two and two together, and I'm like, I don't want any of it. So.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for informing us.
But yeah.
Run along now.
Excuse me? Run along now. Righteous runs this, you cheeky sod.
Righteous knows I'm breaking his chops. He knows me by now.
When we're getting in trouble, you don't... Oh, God. We'll have a word later, Neil.
You don't poke the bear when we're getting in trouble.
He's not a bear, number one, right? Think of him as the boss rather than the bear, and then we'll all get along nicely, okay? Today, Righteous is the boss. just respect him. Say yes, sir, and we'll all get along swimmingly. Okay?
Yeah.
Not yeah.
Run along now.
Not cheeky sod. Much obliged, Righteous. Thank you for informing us. It is, unfortunately, obvious now you're a bit late in the day, but you are doing your due diligence. I thank you for that. You've said it, right? No one can ever criticise you. No one will ever say that you haven't said it to me. You have.
Hold on a second, because now I'm going to get pissed off. Because I don't
God.
like the use of the F word. And nobody ever comes and tells you, look, don't be using that word. Why? Because you won't get banned for using the F word?
Neil, it's racially charged. Yeah? Associated with a protected group. Just get over it, eh?
Yeah, we can move.
No, I
we
know.
can
I
change the subject.
understand that, but I want it to be.
We can change the subject. I mean, we don't gotta dwell on this.
No, I don't mind at all.
What was said.
It's absolutely relevant, actually. I'm glad you brought it up.
All I
It's just
wanted to
Neil
say
can't
was-
control himself, unfortunately, while we're trying to have this discussion.
I'm driving. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks, Neil. No, it's absolutely relevant, Righteous, that we're having this discussion.
So, what else is new in FE?
With FE, we got the girls going to space. That's still relevant to everybody, so I don't mind continuing covering. I thought it would be here today and gone tomorrow, like all the other spacey stuff. Like, there's a churn, isn't there, with space? They churn through more and more stuff continuously. So for me, seeing a couple of chicks going up, a couple of beautiful and empowered women going up with respect to a plane is fine by me. I can talk about their height above sea level. That's all good. But then I thought it'd be dead. Here we are about, 4 or 5 days later? And people are still talking about it. It's just they're not talking about it in the way I expected. So my wife approached me about it. Now, it's seldom that my wife talks to me about these related subjects. But in this instance, she did. And she asked me, what do you think of the space launch? And I approached her in the way I would tentatively broach these subjects with her if I was to bring them up with her, which is, well, I don't necessarily believe wholeheartedly what they're presenting to us. Words to that effect, weaselly, right? She's like, everyone thinks it's fake. Now, my wife's a normie, right? She's got her finger on the normie pulse. She knows what's going on, right? She watches Netflix. She's in Facebook. She's doing all that normie stuff that I don't do. So, you know, typically that's not the relationship. She's not like my lifeline to normality in that regard, but she does keep her finger on that pulse. So when she just immediately came out with nobody believes that it's real, I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? So the population at large is definitely reflecting how we first viewed it and how we first critiqued it, which is it doesn't look very real, but it never does to us anymore. But it's starting to brush off on the general populace. They're all saying this looks like it's come out of a game. So today we'll cover Dubay, because he summarised it all quite nicely to his credit. So it's quite useful for us to go over it by having someone to, bounce off, which is in this case Eric Dubay. Why not? He's a friendly. Might as well keep him on our side and send him more views. But I liked his summary of it, so I think we'll cover that because people are still interested. I've watched several people. I watched Banjo's summary of it, and he was pointing the same thing that I've just summarised in about a couple of minutes by going to various different normie YouTubers and TikTokers and showing that they're doing that. So it's good in a way because it meant that I could say it with confidence because I know it is the case, having checked today on Banjo's video. In other words, I can affirm it with other people's hard work. However, we won't be covering Banjo's video because that sentiment is all that's needed. Having it evidenced by Banjo is useful for me to be able to summarise that sentiment, but nothing more. So shout out to Banjo. Thank you for compiling all of those videos. It was very helpful for me to affirm that what my wife had told me was absolutely correct. and people notice that the general population at large has noticed just how fake it looks and are saying so, which is very amusing to me. It's like, to us, it's like, why is this still hanging around like a bad smell? Oh, because the rest of the world think it stinks too. It's not just us saying it and then it's forgotten about. I think that's amusing.
Well, no comment. I'll leave it a no comment. But I am curious about the world catching up. So hearing news on that is interesting.
That could be a flash in the pan. I wonder, the censorship I'm suffering, and I use that word intentionally, suffering, is more egregious currently than ever. Like really, really, really bad. You just don't find me on my stuff. YouTube have sort of put a big fat line through me currently. I don't know if that'll change, but at the moment, it's particularly egregious. Maybe they don't want people who are already scratching their heads finding me. They definitely don't want them finding me at the moment. That's just goes without saying. It's not even a question. I shouldn't be smiling about it, but I only smile because you know you're over the target, right? When you get this kind of flack. So yeah, all is well in Nathyland. Hope all is well in Righteous Land.
Yeah, I started putting the Bible studies that we have on Discord on YouTube, and they're gonna go alongside when I'm gonna also put individual videos too. But yeah, I just been focusing on just preaching the gospel and having fellowship, and I already do that like 3 times a week. So as a result, I'm a lot busier. So
Fair enough.
I also got to read and I got to study and so forth and so on. So that doesn't leave that much room for that many other things. So I just kind of look at the things like in Discord and stuff that I need to be looking at it from like a more distant approach, and rely on others to step it up, right?
Oh, you've got a good team.
Yeah.
You've delegated everything effectively, so you don't need to concern yourself too much, right? Occasionally, like today, you've got to step in and have a word, which is fair enough.
Right. Right. And when I'm gonna do like the solo videos, I'll come in and I'll take advantage of of knowing you, so I can plug in my video now and then. So why not?
Good stuff.
All right. I also got a place where I can record without distraction, right? The church, my local church, is letting me rent out a place where it's just me, and I have 0 distractions, and I can just go there. I can take some time to prepare. I got a nice new mic now. I can always be on camera, and
Cool.
so yeah, you can still check out some of the last live streams. We were just kind of testing and mucking around, and there's still some things I need to be ironing out. But it's just better to just start. Sometimes it's just better just to like get going already, right? Otherwise, you could end up just procrastinating and never starting.
Absolutely. Do it. And sometimes when you don't know what you're doing, you're going to make mistakes and do it badly initially. You can't just be slick immediately. It's not possible. Right? So yeah, you've just got to do it. Absolutely. Don't procrastinate. Just get on with it. What might you get?
It was a fee fine or something like that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Very good. I've set up a little side hustle making mics.
10th man asked me a question about that. He said, what's going on with microphones? Is Nathan's daughter doing something? Is that why there's so much talk about microphones?
It's just I can't make videos while I'm sat doing the book, but what I can do is while I'm sat not putting that much input while it's rolling by in front of me, I've got to be there during the process, but I'm not literally doing a great deal. So what I can do is box up a microphone and put it in the post when someone buys it. And that's going to be, until the book comes out, my little side hustle to keep the mortgage paid, basically. So it's one of those. It's out of necessity. When you're running low on funds, you've got to do something. Now, initially, it started off with me wanting to upgrade my microphone, but it's just sales, isn't it? And I quite like microphones, so I thought, all right, I'll turn this into a little side hustle temporarily while the book's being done. And then once it's done, that becomes the side hustle revenue, like that's an extra revenue stream, the book. And then the time that was being spent doing microphones and book can actually go back to doing edited videos, like the thing I want to do. The thing I enjoy doing is YouTube. So everything else is, peripheral to that, if that's the right word, sideline to that, or aiming towards doing that permanently, because that's all I want to do permanently is this, i.e. the videography bit is the bit that I enjoy. The mic's just a means to an end, right? It's a tool for doing the videography. And a side hustle temporarily while I'm writing a book. So there you go. There's the full story of why I'm talking about microphones. If you see microphone videos, number one, I like technology. I like mics. I used to like audio equipment, high fidelity reproduction equipment previously, selling amplifiers to studios and people with lots of money. But in this case, it's recording, because that's now what I do for a living. So back in the day when I was a salesman, reproduction of audio was the product I was selling while I was out being a rep. So therefore, obviously, I enjoyed the product that I sold, and it's no different now. I use a mic on a daily basis to capture sound to produce a show. So therefore, it's something I've got an interest in. Therefore, I can turn that into a little sideline. Why wouldn't I? There's a few people in the comments that are quite nasty about it, like members. And you're like, why? Okay, I get it. You don't want to hear about mics. I totally understand. YouTube's smart enough now to separate out the videos and put them to different people. So you probably don't get offered them if you're a flat earther. So you don't have to watch them. Now, why am I doing them? So I can keep going. I can't just watch the revenue drop while I sit watching my book scroll by with people editing it for me, right? I can't sit and watch the revenue drop and keep doing YouTube videos. In other words, needs must, right? You've got to do something. So what do you lean back on? Well, whatever skill you have to generate money. For me, it's sales, marketing, purchasing, all of those things that I've done in the past. So that's what I'm doing, to keep the lights on, so that I can keep doing the videos. For anybody who's a bit like, I don't like this, I don't want you talking about mics. It's like, well, I don't want to talk about mics either, but I do want to keep the lights on and do the videos, because that's the fun bit. If you can keep the lights and mortgage paid with just the videos, that's like everyone's dream job. Not everyone's, but you know what I mean. A lot of people's dream job. Sometimes you can't. If you try and take on other projects when there's only so many hours in the day, there's going to be a shortfall, in my case, revenue, because of lack of videography work being done, right? You can't do more. You can't insert more hours in the day. Oh, I want to do a book. Well, I'll just invent an extra 5 hours in the day to do that. It's like, no, you can't. So you have to sacrifice one thing to get another to work. So I need something else to cover that loss of time in something that is not generating any income. While you're writing the book, there's zero coming back from it, right? Which is detrimental to me keeping the lights on. So as much as it's irritating if you're watching and you're going, I don't like these videos, it's like, okay, fine. Try and keep that to yourself. I'm not doing it just because I absolutely adore microphones and feel compelled to make bleeding videos about them. No, it's a necessity. But like with anything I do generally, I'm going to pick something I actually enjoy doing. Otherwise, it becomes a massive chore and very, very stressful. Whereas if it's like, oh, a new mic, I can't wait to wire it up, test it, see how it sounds, make a video with it, and then put it on eBay. Because I'm keen, I can actually utilise that keenness to do a better job than my competitors on eBay, as sad as it may sound for someone who's making YouTube videos about flat Earth. It's like, that's life sometimes. On the other hand, looking forward, a book will come out and then I'll be on a little tour trying to promote it, getting people to read it and then put it under other people's nose when they want to tell them that Earth's flat. So then it'll be all guns blazing with me back on the trail of flat Earth only, because that'll be my main focus, is promoting the book. But it's got to get done, and that does require a certain time jiggling, and that has to, it can't interfere with me keeping food on the table and lights on. That just has to be, as much as it is my second priority to YouTubing, which is my main job, still got to keep the mortgage paid. I've got to keep that as my priority. So sorry if you're that guy that doesn't enjoy mic videos. Tough luck. or girl, for that matter. Just don't watch
The
them.
question is, what are we going to do today?
I told you, we're covering Dubay, and space chicks is what people want to talk about, so space chicks it is.
Yeah, everybody's saying it looks so fake. It's not real. So the world is catching up.
Maybe.
No, it's not maybe. They are. Like I said, we're not in a small little dark corner of the internet anymore. And when the book comes out, you're going to see.
Well, that's what I said. I was moaning that they've made the corner that we are in much darker just recently. If it's connected to the SpaceX thing, then fair enough. I mean, maybe. Maybe they'll lift the kibosh once everyone forgets about it in a week's time. I don't know. Okay?
Yeah, I was doing a delivery and I'm buzzing down this highway. And sure enough, I passed that. I was like, whoa, that was a turtle in the middle of the road. Now, week I failed because there was a turtle in the middle of the road. I was doing like 80, 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. So by the time I stopped, I was way too far to walk back. So I made a U-turn to go get him and give my guy some company. And just as I got there, so there was cars flying down the opposite way, right at the turtle. So I waved one off, but the second guy deliberately ran over the turtle. Son of a bitch.
That's not nice.
It's not. I could have saved him. I failed. But I saved yesterday's guy. He's a pretty big one. He's like twice the size of the one I got in my I got like this kiddie pool that I set up for them. I am their savior.
You are, literally, yes.
Yeah, because this one I go up to him yesterday. Now you gotta be careful because I don't know how to identify snap from box or whatever. My son does. But he showed me some pictures, so now I do know. So I'm a little hesitant. But he's just sitting there like nothing's gonna happen in the middle of the freaking road. I'm like, dude, you're gonna get massacred. Come with me. Now remember, you could tie that into flat Earth. Didn't they have like this turtle Earth type thing in the Feast of Nonsense?
Isn't it Tolkien or someone like that? Turtles all the way down is some comment that some old lady made when she was asked about flat Earth. We were on the back of a turtle. Or what's underneath that? It's an infinite regress fallacy. Turtles all the way down.
What'd you think of Ballbusters Saturday?
Most of it went over my head.
All right, so I'm not alone then.
No.
I was picking up some stuff. Some stuff you do know from being around QE, but then like some of the stuff I was like, whoa.
Did he not make any disclaimers? Sometimes with a show like that, he'll make disclaimers that stuff he's doing is above some people's pay grade. And that's fine, don't worry about it. Did he? I can't remember.
I remember him saying something to that effect, maybe not that exact wording, but I think I did hear QE say something. Not 100% sure. But I know that guy. I've seen him before. Years ago, I've seen him. Christians love him. You know why, right? Because he's a scientist, supposed, and he believes in Jesus as the savior. So now we got a scientist on our side. That's the only reason I like him. I mean, it's a show. If anybody would look into the scripture, they would come right against heliocentrism.
Yeah, it was a good show, to answer your question. I still enjoyed it, even when stuff's going over my head.
Oh, on shows like that, you sit back and, not that I didn't before, but you kind of have more respect and, like, for Adam, and his knowledge. Like, oh, this guy's smart, knows a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, you're smart too. Don't get me wrong. He's all like really witty. But like when Adam's breaking stuff down, it's like, wow, I wouldn't have got that in school.
Yeah, it shows to me that we've got an exceptionally tight group in terms of who's got strengths in what regards. We've all got different strengths and weaknesses, but we've got some highly intellectual boffins as part of our group. Right? That's good. Got a well-rounded group.
Yeah, we're buffing a racer at the top.
Yeah. But if you want everyone down the line to have a really tight shot group, guy at the top's got to have a good tight shot group, right? There's no way around it.
And it shows, you could see the difference in the way your panel was organically constructed. Think about it. You didn't put it together yourself. This organically came together. And if you hold it up in comparison to what they were doing over there at the dumpster fire, Globe dumpsters, I mean, that's why you're standing the test of time. You couldn't say nothing if Bob didn't agree with it.
What do you mean organically? I picked who's in Master B. That is a bit of a problem. I hadn't really thought about that, actually. I really need to get teams sorted out. Make sure that Master B is still there. Maybe I should manually write it down. How long have I got? About 10 days.
No, I'm not saying you didn't pick, but the way it came together was organically. Yeah, you have to pick who's on the panel and, see who's fit. But the people that came in at first, you didn't bring people in. I heard of you through freaking Dave Weiss, and I came in, and I stood here.
Yeah, but I was friends with Dave Weiss. I can pick and choose who I'm friends with, so therefore I'm not going to have people interacting on a show on a YouTube channel unless I'm actually in their favour and they're in mine, right?
Right. All right. So not organic.
I just
so
object to you saying it's
constructed a
organic,
panel.
right? When you say it's organic, like the group isn't grown organically, right? Not at all. It's entirely synthetic. It's me that's doing it, right? I'm putting together a group of people. I'm picking and choosing I'm quite fussy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm saying we all came to your show. I came to your show through David Weiss. This one came there, and then you picked them out and put it together. Yeah, I guess you're right. I understand what you're saying. I meant to come to you organically. I mean, I didn't know anything about it. I came, David Weiss, I heard him say something about the guys from across the pond, flat earth debate. I started watching. A few other people came in that way. But then, yes, then you got to hand pick who you're going to have in your panel. And that's why you came out with 2 panels, right? There was one on Discord, and then you put G Plus together because you needed to, right?
Yeah, sure, but again, the same with people like Dave Weiss. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody disappoints you. But that's not to say that I'm not completely fickle when it comes to people like Dave Weiss. I can still recognise all of his strengths. Yeah? No
I
response.
struggled to find one. The only thing I give thanks to him was that he was smart enough to mention you that day where I heard it.
Okay, well, whatever. People like Dave have not had their lines of communication closed with me. I've aired various grievances to Dave. He's done the same back to me. Now, does that mean that I've closed all communication lines with Dave Weiss? No. Now, strictly speaking, the same is true for Jaren. But at this point, I don't think I'll probably ever contact Jaren again. I've got to be honest.
No, if you do, people will start questioning you.
Maybe. I'm not motivated by how people, question me or otherwise. Right, I might concern myself with my own internal group. In other words, your opinion does matter, Neil, as much as I might try and seem like it doesn't. Pretend that it doesn't, but it does. But beyond that, it's like, people might think, I don't care what people might think.
No, but see, Brian's right about that. You gotta, because you're trying to grow, right? I know you got a community you're happy with. That's great. But the end result is you want to keep growing. You want to get this word out, and you want to continue to have more income coming in, right?
Yeah,
So
but
who you associate with is important.
very, very, that's why I was saying it's not organic. So we're back on the same track now. Yeah. So therefore, who you associate with is extremely important. But who I associate with and how that's viewed by outsiders is not important to me. Yeah? Because I've got, as you put it, a very strong community around me that's making sure I'm all right. Right? I'll never just go under and stop being able to do what I'm doing, making flat earth videos. People want me with a strong will and desire for me to continue doing this. And they make that abundantly clear, not daily, but regularly. Yeah? Now, in terms of you saying, well, you want to keep the lights on, people make sure that's the case too. Yeah. Now, it's not something I could show to an accountant and go, look, this is super reliable. It isn't. Far from it. But I'm all right. And always have been because of the people around me. I know I was joking last time I talked about this, but I get by with a little bit of help from my friends because I bought a Beatles microphone. But that's what I'm talking about. I'm showing willing. I'm showing that I'm putting in hard work and graft. That's why it's a little bit upsetting when people are moaning about it. You're like, would you rather I e-begged? I noticed that people are being critical of Witsit because he's buggered off for a little bit, come back, and he's now asking for thousands of dollars. You're like, okay.
What? Whoa, run that by me again?
Witsit's disappeared, come back, and he's now making videos saying, I want thousands of dollars, and putting Ko-fi, whatever they're called, funds together, and being cagey about even telling people what the GoFundMe campaign's for. So he's asking for money, not telling people what the campaign's for, so you can contact me privately if you want to find out what it's about. But I've got an emergency, I need money. You're like, okay, so you've disappeared, you're not putting back into the community, right? You're not doing your thing to keep, yourself sustained. You've come back and you're e-begging immediately. Now me, I'm trying to demonstrate that, when times are tough, I recognise that everyone around me is grafting, and sometimes you've got to do that too. Witsit's just come back and stuck his hand out, stuck his cap on the floor. Well, my point here is that I could do that. No worries, no worries. Chuck all the microphones in the bin. I'll just do a couple of grand GoFundMe. Okay, I need to cover the lights, mortgage, and bills. There you go, £2 GoFundMe. It's just scummy. For what? For just to keep me going? It's like, that's what I do the work for, isn't it? If I need something extra, if the projector blows up tomorrow, absolutely I'll do a GoFundMe without the slightest bit of guilt. Right? But just to keep the lights on, it's like, surely that's the graft that should do that.
Yeah, but people want. I only break your chops about the microphones. I think most of us do. We're only breaking your chops. But if people are moaning about it, like in private messages to you, yeah, then listen. The way you explain it, I mean, it's justified. You're trying to work and not beg all the time.
Exactly. I see people who give me money, normal people who give me, let's say someone gives me $50. That's a chunk of money, right? That's a chunk of money that they have to put a certain amount of hours into physically grafting and doing their thing to earn, to give it to me. Like, bloody hell, number one, that's touching. Number two, you want to show willing. Well, I can do that. Times are tough. Everybody's feeling the pinch. So instead of me just going, can I have more of your money while you work even harder as everyone feels the pinch? No. I can knuckle down. I can do a bit of work, right? So Easter weekend, I've done nothing but try and purchase microphones to replace the 10 that I've sold so I can keep churning them out and keep my mortgage paid. Now, nobody needs to hear about my boring patter when I'm trying to buy stuff for a fraction of what it's actually worth. That's boring. And I won't bore you with the process. But when I do get an item that's saleable, what I add in terms of value is my ability to test it and show it working with a video. I'm a videographer. So therefore, I'm going to go, right, I'm going to make a video about this. That's what I love doing. I love making videos. If it's about microphones, great. If it's about flat earth, great, because I love the subject. So, marvellous, marvellous. I will do it as long as it is necessary. Hopefully not very long. But I'd rather that than just stick my hand out, like Witsit's currently doing. Finally rounded the point out. Got there in the end.
How you doing, Adam? What's going on?
Hey, doing all right. How about you guys?
All good. Hunky-dory.
I wonder
How's
if
it going in the
Witsit is
chat?
feeling
I
some
haven't been able to
backlash.
get there. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
No, that was me. I was going to say, I wonder if Witsit is feeling some backlash from the final experiment, and that's why he might need some more money.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Why would that mean he needs more, right? What's he doing differently? He's not done anything. He's not producing any videos. He's not keeping his nose to the grindstone or whatever the metaphor is.
Because he can't, Nathan. What is he going to do? Is he
I
going to
don't
go
know.
about ether?
I don't care. I just care about me. I'm not selfish. No, but in seriousness, you keep doing your thing. You do your videos. You make your videos. That's what we do. We're videographers.
Yeah, but he's got thin skin because people were attacking him on it. Every time he made a video, there was people in chat with the vape gate and this and questioning him and holding his feet to the fire. He can't handle it. That's why he stepped away. Where's the receipts? What's it?
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know what he wanted to get out of it. It all seems wrong and weird.
Oh, because like I said, their first priority. Well, not even. I don't know. It's not like their first priority, but their main concern. And that's going to be wrong too, because you're going to say, "Well, that's my main concern too, making money." That's not what I mean. But they didn't have flat Earth like we have it, like we present it. We're serious about it. They're flippantly doing it, adding in ether, talking about all this nonsense. What they really want is just subscribers and money.
That's what I want. Subscribers and money.
Yeah, but your heart's in the right place.
Not necessarily subscribers either as time's gone by, right? The view count keeps you sane because that's what is directly correlated to your ad revenue income. The subscriber count is almost meaningless in that regard. But that's people's perceived view of how popular you are. If you've got more subscribers, you're
So,
bigger.
so you wouldn't want 10 million.
Of course, but that would, generally speaking, almost certainly result in having more views and having more revenue and all the rest of the things that would be associated with it. But it's not always correlated at this end of the scale. Below 1 million, yeah? Or let's say around about, I don't know, whatever. Under 1 million subscribers, you can find that somebody who's got 300,000 subscribers might make less than somebody who's got 100,000 subscribers, depending on what they're doing. It's not necessarily correlated that at this lower end of the scale, a case in point would be Jaren versus myself. Jaren's perception that he puts out to the audience is, I'm more popular. You're like, okay, well, let's have a look at the numbers then, because that's what I would be doing if it was sales. And in this instance, the stats are no different. You can look at it in a different context because correlated to your sales, if you want to call them that in terms of ad revenue, impressions, is your clicks, and that you can look at in the stats for views, right? Not necessarily 100% related to what you'll end up earning, as I've just pointed out. The two could be drastically different at this lower end of the scale. Once you go past 1 million, you're just earning money from what you put out because you've got plenty of people to advertise it to. Therefore, it's just going to do generally quite well, or you will earn something from it. But there's going to be people out there that are at this lower end of the scale that might earn nothing because they're just not doing enough, even though they've got 50, 100,000 subscribers. They're just not doing any work. So they're not going to earn anything. That's my point. You've got to put the graft in. People are very fickle. You're only as good as your last video. That is how it is, like in sales. Book, totally different. Book, that will last. That's got legs that will outlast me once it's done. Videos, they're here today, gone tomorrow, unfortunately. Now, knowing the nature of that, I can combat that. Okay, so my video's only got a 24-hour lifespan, if that, with my own audience, who are very dedicated, I might add. So I've got to keep churning them out then. Okay. But then you realise you've got no other hours in the day to do anything. So when you cut into those hours that you've got to be making videos in, suddenly your ad revenue drops. And you go, ah, dear. But when you compare it to someone like Jaren, who's got perceivably much more popularity because he's got 150,000 subscribers rather than my 20,000 when I was comparing them. But who's got more views? Me. Why? Because I recognise that I've got to keep an eye on how many views I'm getting. And when they dip, I'll do more work if I've got the time to do it. There obviously reaches a point where you can't do any more than you're doing. And I definitely reached and breached that quite some time ago. But because of that, keeping an eye on it, it meant that when Jaren comes up to me, he's like, I'm much more popular. Really? Let's have a look at your views. I've got more. Considerably more than you. More people have clicked on and watched my videos than have clicked on and watched yours. There is no other way to dice it. Those are the facts in the matter. You want to say you've got more popularity because the meaningless subs count's higher? All right, how much does your sub count pay you? So, yeah, popularity can be diced up in many different ways. The way that your amateur videographer tends to come and approach me is, look how well my last video did. It's got 3,000 views, and your last video's only got 1,000. Oh, really? What about the one the day before that, and 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 the day before... Yeah, they've all got 1,000, haven't they? Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? And they're all continually getting views after. One or two, when you've got 3,000 videos to your name, makes a difference, I absolutely assure you. And they're all ticking in little bits of views here and there every day, always. But to guys...
Yeah, that's the problem. They don't take the whole picture view of it. They just look at one video and think they got it.
Yeah, I get that regularly. Look how much better I'm doing than you. Hello, I've been here 10 years, paying the mortgage doing this. What are you talking about? Your last video got 3,000 views. Wow, amazing. How much did it pay you? $1? You need a lot of videos doing that to pay a mortgage. Or not, at the moment the case may be. Check out my eBay store.
How are you?
Morning.
Good day, good day.
I'm very well. How are you, Neil?
Very well.
Jolly good. Now, in the pre-show, I've been in a very misogynistic, sexist manner calling the recent events Chicks in Space, but I'll probably get told off for that. So I'll reuse different language and call it the Empowered Beautiful Ladies in Space. affair that we're currently dealing with. So, as I've discussed in the pre-show, my wife, who is pretty much a normie, approached me about my feelings on the Katy Perry and various others in space and what I thought about it. And my suggestion to her was that, well, I don't necessarily wholeheartedly get behind 100% of the narrative that's being presented. In other words, a very kind of even-handed, slightly weaselly, non-committal answer that alluded to the idea that I think it's all nonsense, but without necessarily saying it in such a blunt way. And almost before I'd finished, she was pointing out to me that everyone in mainstream normie world thinks it's fake, and they're not afraid to say it, which is quite amusing. So typically when these things come out, they disappear fairly quickly for us, right? We point out the nonsense in it, well, not necessarily us, but the stereotyped flat earther will point out the nonsense, and the anomaly hunters will get their teeth into it from the conspiracy side, if you want to call us that. But not the normies, right? They just watch it and they might moan about it being boring, which is what I pointed out with Dr. Grande's immediate response to it. Snoozy, boring, nonsense. That isn't particularly advantageous to anybody. Why is there such a big deal about it? Why are they potentially stealing valor was the other thing that was covered last time we got our teeth into this. But since then it's unfolded into society having a little gander at this stuff and going, hang on a minute, why does this look so shoddy? What gives? Why is this being faked? In other words, it's not just gone under the radar of your average normie. He or she is starting to actually pay attention and notice, from what I gather. Now, with that in mind, Eric Dubay did what I would call an exceptional summary. I will also do a honourable mention, or give an honourable mention to Flat Earth Banjo, because Banjo affirmed what my wife had said to me, which is to show all of the different clips from TikTok or YouTube and prove to me, not, beyond any reasonable doubt, but to the point where I'm happy to say it with a fair degree of confidence now, that is the case. Like, general normies are noticing how bad that fakery is from Bezos. I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know why that's happening now. And I don't see that we should be typically covering this beyond the day or so that its lifespan typically would have, because there'll be something else soon. But here we are, because of the normie recognition of it, and it's no different to how we would cover it, right? The normies are covering it how we would have covered it if we were to cover it, which is weird. So there we go. It's a weird turn of events. And for that reason, I've put a link to Eric Dubay's video, which we're going to be covering today, because it just so nicely summarises what I've just summarised in a video format with his reaction to it. So we're going to bounce off Eric Dubay today, and there is a link to Eric Dubay's video, Winging Its Way by, if I could speak, my live stream chat right now. So if you are in the live stream chat, I know we've only just started, there's only 20 or 30 people watching, 25 currently, heading on up. Good. Please do actually pop along, if you haven't seen it already, to Eric Dubay's video, which is called, should really know off the top of my head, Katy Perry kissed the ground and she liked it. A spin on I kissed a girl and I liked it, right? So there we go. So we're going to be covering that. Please do pop along. Oh, videos numbers are going up. 37 people watching, so there is a fair number of you to actually make it worth Eric Dubay's while in respect to getting a few extra views on his video. If you haven't watched it already, while I'm doing this call to action, please do pop along to Eric Dubay's video called Katy Perry kissed the ground, ... and she liked it. And just let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, really appreciated your very brief, because it's only a 5-minute video, summary of the Bezos and, what did I say, strong and empowered women in space coverage. So thank Eric Dubay for his coverage. And yeah, good. And just on a slight aside to this, for those of you who are leaving me messages saying that I'm the only one left, I'm like the only flat earth standing, there's a term for that. It's called wishful thinking. You know who you are. Anyway, any comments on this before we do actually get into it for realsies? Anybody seen this? Eric Dubay video, that is?
It's not that you're the only one standing. It's the only one relevant standing that's speaking the language that we are speaking.
Nah, that's not what people are saying to me. They're saying, look, this person's gone, that person's gone, you're the only one standing. You're like, giving me half a dozen examples of shilly-type flat earthers that have always been a bit of a pain in the arse to begin with, that we've often opposed, disappearing. and then saying I'm the only one left, you're like, I'm going to go with no. Although it is particularly egregious, the level of censorship that this channel is currently under. So if you are in the live stream chat, there's just under 50 people watching. Please do smash the share button for this show. It's all well and good me sending you to Eric. He's doing all right with the numbers. I'm doing terribly, got to be honest. So yeah, it's particularly egregious, the level of censorship currently bestowed upon Flat Earth Debate and indeed the Nathan Oakley 1980 and Nathan Oakley channels, respectively. So please do share this show. There is only one share button that you need to click twice. A couple of smashes of that click on your mouse and you'll get the show out to your favourite social media platform, be it Bebo or MySpace or the outgoing Skype, whatever it is you use. But please share the show. Hopefully we can get 100 people watching. And I think the reason for the egregious censorship of this channel currently, more egregious than ever, I might add, is because of this. Is because of the nonsense that the general public is recognising. Maybe they kind of knew that this would prick a lot of... There's nothing on screen. I'll go back to the beginning in a second when I'm finished talking about it. Just there's something on screen. We'll have the penis rocket on. Do you think this looks real? No. But yeah, I think it's because there's so many people asking that question from the normal public. And if they do happen to find me because they haven't put the complete kibosh on the channel, then they'll hear me talking about flat earth measurements and Neil saying the N-word, you know, things like that. Anyway, should we get into it?
This week, Blue Origin, an Amazon Studios partner, is making headlines for allegedly sending 6 female celebrities, including Katy Perry, into space. Unfortunately for Jeff Bezos, and thankfully for the rest of humanity, the masses are finally starting to see through these fake space shenanigans, and even mainstream media sources are pointing out obvious anomalies with the new footage. To begin with, pay close...
Anybody notice that there was a towel there? I just noticed that somebody had put a towel down ready for her to kneel and kiss the ground, like it was already preordained. They knew she was going to do it. They didn't want her to have dirty knees when she stood up for the cameras, so they put a towel down for her.
Close attention to this circumcised phallic rocket ship.
Yeah, right on. Nobody's mentioned it. I did, and so did Adam, and we mentioned it last time we covered Bezos missions about a year and a half ago. But the feather is also just a subliminal dick.
And how strange the video appears, even at a casual glance.
Yeah, it does. That was the first thing I said also. I'll just back him. It looks like it's come out of a computer. It looks rendered. Because it probably is.
The rocket is very crisp, compared to the background, appearing superimposed, while the fire beneath the rocket contrastingly looks very low definition, making a muddled video that looks like something straight out of AI or an Unreal Engine video game. The entire trip, from launch to landing, lasted only 11 minutes, supposedly sending the celebrities...
He says only. Right, I had to scrub through it when we covered it last because I found it so intensely boring. And again, I noted that Dr. Grande, he keeps being my example because he was the first to react to it in my subscription feeds. And he was like, Snoozeville, boring. You're like, 11 minutes? Yeah, 11 minutes too much. It's just utter boring. And again, last time we covered this on Friday, I think it was, I was talking about The Simpsons in the 90s. You know, a mathematician, a statistician, and another mathematician. And Bart and Homer are fighting to get the batteries back in the remote to change the channel so they'd have to watch another boring space launch. And that's kind of how I felt about this when we were covering it. I was grateful that we could scrub through it. So as much as Eric Dubay like, oh, it's only 11 minutes, you're like, seemed like an eternity to me.
Is 350,000 feet high. Even
off surface level, Eric. Yeah, that's something you need to start getting up to date with the flat Earth debate, Eric. You need to start pointing out where they're measuring a flat Earth. All roads lead back to a flat Earth, and in this case, they're utilising their height off surface level, their measured height off sea level, to describe a curved horizon through fisheye lenses Eric Dubay is going to get into. It's like, where does the measurements come from? You've just dictated it to us in the video. If you're going to give a feet off the ground, you should point out that it's a measurement off surface level. Flat Earth requirement, it's a prerequisite for this measurement.
Mainstream sources have reported how the zero-G effect experienced for about 3 minutes of their journey is not the result of the women being in so-called microgravity, but
there is no such thing as being in microgravity. Orbital motion, to be in this perpetual falling around a sphere, is a description in mathematics. A description that gives you the heliocentric motion that's only ever mathematically capable of being described from within a sphere. So if I just go to this, let's put this on screen. This is where you will describe heliocentric orbital motion from. Where I'm pointing my mouse is the centre of hell. Whenever you look at the line that the ball Earth that's claimed mathematically to be moving around the sun moves along, that line goes through the middle of the ball. It's because the angles that are utilised mathematically when measured off a flat surface become this point in the centre of the ball to give you the reifiable heliocentric motion that gives you 0g. It isn't a reality that's possible beyond the maths. It's not capable of reification because to be moving in an orbital motion, you must describe it from within the ball. This is for Eric. I want Eric on our side. Yeah, I'm definitely not the last man standing, but Eric's definitely on my list like it previously was Jaren. Now, I've got absolutely no in whatsoever with Eric. But when he's talking about heights off sea level and orbital motion, he needs to know these things are flat Earth proofs. As his numbers whiz up and up and up. 22,000 views in the last 22 hours. Good for him. I'm extremely jealous. This is a guy on my side, right? Eric Dubay's like us. Here's where I don't mind stereotyping. By association.
rather happens the same way a parabolic 0G airplane flight creates a free-floating atmosphere. As the plane or rocket approaches its peak altitude, during its peak, and for some time afterwards, this weightless effect is achieved because the passengers inside are essentially free-falling at the same speed as the craft, while
Yeah, very dangerous. I remember Dilly Gill covering it, where they can extend the 0G parabolic manoeuvre to fake the ISS and various other things that they had back in the 90s with this technique being used extensively before NASA. They've got a lot more lazy and a lot more low budget, and they'll just stick them straight on high wire without the terrible and expensive need to stick a rocket up. But when they do these 0G manoeuvres on the Vomit Comet, or in this case on Bezos' piece of crap that probably didn't even go up, right? If it is to be taken as read that they did do this manoeuvre and fall through a parabolic arc, therefore creating an impression of weightlessness, then that would be but for the fact that they've described their height in the parabolic manoeuvre with respect to a plane, that they've got their height off, so they don't crash into the ground when they pull up. Not that Bezos did that, but the parabolic manoeuvres in the 0G Comet, they require a surface level to measure, so they don't crash into the ground. Yeah? That's how it's measured. It's not measured with a great big 8 inches per mile cavity opening up ahead of the plane, obviously, because that would give them a lot more wiggle room for manoeuvring in this pretend 0G parabolic manoeuvre. No, they're measuring the height of the plane when they do the manoeuvre with respect to surface level. Like all planes. Like we'd show in the black box data, flat earth proof, whenever you mention an aeroplane. Just want to get all of the absolutely unequivocal flat earth prerequisites and proof tagged onto Eric Dubay's video. Please let Eric Dubay know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because as far as I'm concerned, he's missing the ball. Is fumbling the ball the correct term when there's the ball slipping through his fingers? There's flat earth proof on the table and it's not getting mentioned. Is fumbling the ball the right analogy? What's the word? Metaphor.
Dropping the ball.
Yeah, you could say fumbling the ball or dropping the ball.
It's just like there's meat on the bone. I don't want to be too critical of Eric Dubay. You know, all hail Eric Dubay and all that crap. But by the same token, I do want Eric Dubay to mention this stuff. If he's going to talk about heights above surface level, parabolic manoeuvres, and orbital motion, there's plenty of flat Earth meat in there, isn't there? Should all get mentioned. Am I wrong to be this hypercritical? Am I being hypercritical? Why am I second guessing
No,
myself?
he's got to get on the same page. He has to start chanting from the same page.
I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, but it's just, if I was Eric Dubay, I'd if the stuff that could have a flat Earth proof directly tied to it, that's unequivocal and cannot be argued with, it's like, what are they going to say? No, we're not measuring our height off surface level. Yeah, they are. That's in all of the reports. They need a flat Earth just as much as we do, because that's how Earth's measured. But if it doesn't get pointed out, then nobody will know. So, you know.
Right. You started this campaign saying, want to get everybody singing from the same hymn sheet because it is absolutely a flat Earth proof and indisputable.
Yeah, they're using it. So why not point out, well, in order for you to describe your elevation, to describe parabolic maneuvers, to not crash into the ground, or mathematically reify an orbital motion, you need to measure a flat Earth.
While enclosed. Meanwhile, just like when Blue Origin did their same publicity stunt with Dude Perfect, the horizon is filmed with a fisheye lens out of an already slightly curved window, giving everyone at home the effect of seeing a convex horizon, which, with the rise of the Flat Earth movement, is likely one of the main reasons we keep seeing these media-hyped space publicity stunts in the first place.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's evidence to show that the normies are doing the same thing. So in Banjo's video, there was a couple of people that he'd clipped from, I assume, TikTok, who were saying exactly that. It's like, none of this benefits anybody, but the only thing that's getting mentioned is that they saw the curve of the Earth from the window. Really? How interesting that that's the only thing that they're drawing attention to, beyond them holding up buttercups and kissing the ground.
When the capsule finally lands, it hits with a very jarring impact, kicking up huge clouds of dust, which the announcer casually glosses over, claiming to be a, quote, soft landing. Rather than having ambulances and medical personnel close by, instead it's just Jeff Bezos and a film crew standing around.
We are kind of covering feast and nonsense in this regard, right? He hasn't been to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. The area above their head that was black is claimed to be a vacuum. Well, all of the gas they're looking down upon, if it's claimed to be real and you take it as read, would dissipate into that area of volume if you accept the narrative of a sky vacuum that they're travelling to. Doesn't matter how close they get to it, this vacuum is described from surface level that's flat. When they go up at altitude, flat Earth proof. Let's get that out of the way. They're measuring a flat Earth. Okie dokie. When they go to a area that violates the second law of thermodynamics, a violating second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum doesn't exist. So they just went up, if you take it as read. But the rest of it, you can keep. This door nonsense, who cares? This is so we talk about the stuff on the ground. So we don't talk about how fake the stuff in the sky was. We talk about how fake the stuff on the ground was.
Around waving at them through the windows. Note that these women are wearing slim, sleek suits with no helmets, and one of them, Gail King, is 70 years old.
Why do they need to be in a container? What's with this? Why have they got this white stuff? Like a capsule, I think they called it. Do they call it capsule? The thing that looks like the head of a penis. The thing that they're floating around in, the bell. Yeah? Why do they need it at all? Right? Why do they need this? Is it so that the gas that they're all breathing, this yummy, yummy air that they're floating around in, doesn't escape into this black area they're alleging is a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum? Is that why they're in a capsule? Yeah, if that was the case, that you've got this ever-expanding vacuum going off into infinity, then the gas, this stuff here, would dissipate instantly into that area of volume if it was a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr. We can just see it through this window in this bullshit narrative where there's a space called outer space that's claimed to be a vacuum. Garbage. Yeah, in the same way, if it was real, they would also, need this capsule to keep the gas inside them? Yes, so would the ground below them. Gas would disperse into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum if the narrative of a sky vacuum is to be believed. But if we question the door, we're not questioning the sky vacuum.
While waiting for the right moment to open the pressure-sealed hatch, one of the passengers...
The what sealed? Pressure sealed? Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? So it's got to be sealed so that the gas in the narrative doesn't escape from this penis-shaped capsule. Okie dokie. What about the gas they're looking down on? From the capsule, if you take it as read, they went up there. Is that all cool and cushy, not dispersing into the outer space sky vacuum? No, that's a straight-up violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Entropic dispersion in this instance. Gas fills space. Where did they go? Oh, space? Why do they need a capsule? Yeah, to keep the pressure in. But the gas below's all good, it don't need that.
Then makes the huge blunder of opening the capsule's flimsy door all by themselves.
Why does it need a door? To keep the gas in? What about what was out the window? Second law of thermodynamics violating gas not filling space? Let's worry about the door.
Jeff Bezos and his female partner outside the capsule
Who cares? The outer space sky vacuum is fake.
see this and immediately shut the door.
That's why we're lingering on this. Yeah? This is where they want us focused, on the ground. Not in the fake Narnian area above our heads they say that they can travel through to get to the moon and stuff. No, best that we focus our attention to what's happening on the ground. Yeah? That's what magicians do. Don't look at what's going on in the right hand. Look at what's going on. Look, I'm waving this handkerchief in front of you. And people are like, oh, maybe they didn't know they were live. No, it's a comedy of errors, so you critique what's happening on the ground. So you don't look at the sky vacuum violating the second law of thermodynamics, the black area that the gas isn't filling. You worry about the pressurized door opening on the ground. What happens if they opened it in space? Would the gas in the capsule all have leaked out into the space? Oh, but the gas below them won't, right? The gas below them won't leak out, but they need a door to stop the gas they're breathing in the capsule leaking out. I see. Yeah, that makes no frigging sense, does it? You need a container for gas pressure. Let's all worry about the door on the ground.
Telling the women to wait inside, and can be seen laughing and grinning ear to ear afterwards due to their flubbed exit. Once the embarrassment wears off, Jeff then uses his special metal tool, supposedly needed to open the hatch, which limply opens inwards like an old screen door. Compare this to actual pressurized seals, which generally open outwards from the outside, not inwards from the inside, and require some...
Why have we got pressurized doors at all? Should we not point out that the whole point of having these doors pressurized, sealed, against pressure, is so that the gas doesn't vacate into the space? But they're looking down on gas that isn't filling space. Yeah? That's the point of this, isn't it? Don't look at what the left hand's doing. This is a metaphorical handkerchief being waved in your face, so you don't look at what the other hand's doing.
serious strength to open. Once the women step out, each of them gives the most disingenuous, cringeworthy, girl power speeches, holding back fake tears, calling themselves astronauts,
I think they're all very brave.
and acting like they have done something wonderful for feminism and women transformers in general. Katy Perry kisses the ground and repeats how she feels so connected to love now, while Amanda Wynn talks about how healing the trip apparently was for her. For those aware of how the secret societies behind this space fakery use numerology and symbolism to communicate, the numbers and symbols for this mission are clear to see as well.
Yeah, but in their symbology, they want you to believe that there's an area 10 to the minus 17 tour where the stars reside that you could travel to. That's the whole point. It's right there on the patch. So let's talk about whether or not it looks like Baphomet. Now let's talk about the sky vacuum on the patch. So they're pretending to go to this bit. Go ahead.
Nathan, he's latching on to everything we're not supposed to latch on to. What's going on?
I think, but we can only help point out to Eric Dubay where there's flat earth proof that he's missed. Or let's just not say he's missed it. Let's say he's left it on the table. And that there is, absolutely without question, the assertion that there's a sky vacuum above our heads. But we need to worry about the pressurized containers and how they function on the ground, rather than the fact that if they're up in a sky vacuum and the gas-filled space, therefore we need a door. Where's the door around all the gas we're breathing? Oh, we don't have one.
Gate.
Go ahead.
This is the concentrate on door gate.
Yeah, it's
Gotta love it.
Door gate. That's a bit of a weird one. 94 people watching. Woohoo! Thank you to all of you who smashed the share button. Really appreciate it. The only reason we've got a 94 strong audience is because people have shared the show. I am in it, absolutely no doubt. Kibosh has come down on this channel literally in the last couple of weeks. Worse than ever. So I'm very grateful to all of you who do actually share the show. That is definitely why we're edging up to 100 viewers.
The mission patch, viewed upside down, reveals a clear Baphomet, the goat god of Freemasonry, with 3 heads on either side, giving 33, the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Masonry.
Okay. But the whole point of the patch is to show that there's a sky vacuum that they're travelling to in a rocket ship, isn't it? That's the point of the patch. Yeah?
Then you have the mission number being NS-31, and if you watch the time during the live takeoff, you will notice it happens at exactly 1:31 p.m., or 13:31 military time. Since 31 is 13 backwards, NS-31, taking off at exactly 13:31, gives us 3 13s, 13 being the number of degrees in York Rite Freemasonry.
They also measured their heights off sea level and surface level. A flat Earth prerequisite that proves Earth is measured flat by them when they measured it, to give you those informational tidbits that required a flat Earth to measure. On the other hand, there was quite a few 13s and 31s in there, so I guess this is also a focus we could take.
Their blue suits and the Blue Origin Company are also a nod to the so-called Blue Degrees, or first 3 degrees of Freemasonry.
Who gives a crap? The sky's not a vacuum and they measured their height off flat Earth. I mean, at the start, I was praising Eric because I do remember the opening and it being good. But towards the end, I do now remember this and thinking, God, I just rolled my eyes the first time, but now I'm criticising it for an audience, and I'd seem disingenuous if I wasn't moaning about this bit. Summarised with how they measured a flat Earth and how space is fake. Outer space, the sky vacuum. Talk about pressure, not the door.
Nathan, we're the last one standing.
Yeah, but for some people, this is the opening. This is the gateway into what we talk about every day, right? So, like for somebody like Candace, she would probably focus on this type of shit more than we would, right? So you gotta. I mean, I understand what your frustration deal, but like, yeah, we talk about what we talk about. Let other people do what they do, right? Because the message gets to different people in different ways. Some people have different ways of opening up to this shit. Feel me? It's not like a clear...
No.
Negative.
No.
Negative.
All right, I mean, go ahead.
Is this the best way to relieve dry eye? It's called steam therapy, and it's quickly gone viral on social media.
I was like...
No, I disagree because... Okay, I'm going to agree and disagree. Yes, people will find their way through their opener to the subject with stuff like this. Shit like this, as you put it, end quote, you chocolate. Yeah, but if I don't demean it, when they get here, assuming that they've, scrubbed their way through a lot of nonsense and feast of nonsense waffle to get their way to us, or moreover, one of my live audience members like now has shared their show with them, and then they found their way to us, and they're hearing now, if this is a hypothetical scenario where that's happened, me talk about how they measured their height off surface level, a flat Earth prerequisite that proves the ground can only be a flat surface for that measurement to even exist. They hear that and go, bloody hell, that's wonderful. And I'm saying it in terms of what should have been the summary to that video. Now, just imagine for a second that Eric had said that in the video. Like at the 3-minute mark, rather than moving past the sky vacuum and into door gate, said, this height in feet is off surface level and can only and will only ever prove Earth is being measured as a flat, planar surface with heights off surface level. And then to further summarise, all measurements with respect to Earth will be with respect to sea level always, as will be the reference for the flight that took place, proving beyond all doubt that Earth is measured flat. Would that have more or less impact on people's understanding of how Earth is flat than the suggestion of the Freemasonry, which we will get into because I'm being not chastised, but corrected from the chat by Paula, that no, it's no joke, and I'm not trying to demean Freemasonry as being a joke when I say that to me, the more pertinent overarching point is that Earth is measured flat in these examples. Therefore, I must demean Eric's attempts to elucidate those facts by pointing people in the direction of Freemasonry rather than flat Earth measurement. I will criticise that.
Yeah, lock it down first. Then you want to get into all that other stuff, that's fine. But lock it down.
Yeah, but aren't we the ones that say know that it's measured flat and then just you can move on with your day after that?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So, I mean, that's what
Not
we're
for
doing.
all, for some.
Right, you can do whatever you like.
So,
let Chocolate make his point. Go ahead, Chocolate.
no, I mean, it's not just a clear one path for everybody. That's all I'm saying, right? Some people need to get into this by realizing the moon landing wasn't real, or some people need to understand that, you know, NASA's lying about whatever, right? Like, everyone has got their own path into this shit. So I don't knock people who go into this. And Eric Dubay, like, he's done this before. It's not the first time he hasn't focused on the measurements. He's gone into other shit. This is what he does.
Yeah. Okay, I don't disagree. Right,
really.
You're talking about people sliding along the edge of that blade, but the blade must have a tip, and we're at that tip. When it comes to us pointing out what's critical in this subject discussion, the measurements of the surface are the critical aspect. So if you get here by fair means or foul, and we don't talk about that specific detail, then you won't have reached the tip of the spear. Now you're saying, well, you can't have a tip if you haven't got the side of the blade to slide along initially. Yeah. Why can't it all be the tip?
Yeah, well, every blade is going to have that tip, right? Unless you have a really funky blade, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand the criticism that we got, because I have the same ones when I listen to it. I listened to this yesterday, right? Obviously, I have the same ones, but at the same time, I try to calm myself down. Like, all right, some people might need this little path into where we have landed. That's all. That's my only point.
Fair enough. Right, shout out to Bible U from the chat who's shared this with us. We'll go through it now. It's talking about a Freemasonry subject to bring a greater degree of focus where I've been critical of it. Now, I'm all for being enlightened with regards to the importance of Freemasonry, but I will still always stand by the importance of knowing that Earth is measured flat first and foremost. Therefore, my critique stands of debate, regardless of there may or may not be a necessity to point out the Freemasonry aspect, the hoax code that we do see, and I will, when appropriate, praise Dubay and Russian vids and others who point these things out where appropriate. But it will not change my criticism. First tell them it's flat and prove it to them, if that's what your channel's about. Then talk about why and where and who and how.
The youngest guy in the lodge by 20 years. And this guy comes forward and he says, we're going to lead you through this oath. But it's this long, involved, and ultimately blood-curdling oath. What none of these men understand is that deep down inside there's this very dark, evil energy. I would go up to these guys that have been in the Scottish Rite forever. And I
Oh, wow. This has got dark real quick.
say, okay, I'm now a sublime prince of the royal secret. So what's the royal secret? And again, this is something that probably only 1 in 1,000 Masons in America understand. Is that the royal secret?
Dun, dun, dun. Do we want to get into this? Or should I share it and let people watch it of their own volition?
Is that a different video? Did you
Totally different video. So
jump
this
to
is
something else?
Yeah, I'll stick it up for people to watch of their own volition because it's quite long. So this is former 33-degree Mason reveals the darkest secrets of Freemasonry. And it's by Almost Fallible, is it? Almost False. There we go. So Almost False is the name of the YouTube channel, and I'm going to stick a link to them. So if you did want to pop along and validate just how serious a business it is to be Freemasonic, you can check that out from Almost False, who have got almost 200,000 subscribers. So obviously no small potatoes from Paula. Thank you for the link, by the way, Paula. Really appreciate it. But no, we probably won't cover this today. We will get to the end of the last 30 seconds of Eric Dubay's, or last 15 seconds of Eric Dubay's video. But not before I shout out this super chat. Shout out to Flat Out Fudge. How effective is just the tip of the blade if you're trying to penetrate beyond decades of brainwashing? Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm agreeing with Chocolate in the respect that you've got to have a blade to get to the tip. But it doesn't change what the tip is. We are the tip. So we're going to be hyper fanatical about people getting to the nitty gritty quickly, getting to the flat earth proof bit quickly. Yeah? Don't mince your words. Yes, there's more to it. Yeah, there's all sorts of occultist nonsense that you can point out after the fact. But after you point out it's flat, beyond all doubt, so the guy watching knows that as a fact, with evidence that's given to him by the people that are being critiqued. In this case, their measurement off surface level. They're giving it you, use it. Now me, I'm even more extreme. If you're doing that in my presence, I'm going to tell you off. Don't use my measurement. You're going to describe your height off surface level. How dare you? You get on your knees and worship the flat plane of reference you measured for your height, Katy Perry. That's what I'd say to her. You know, don't be telling me you're going off a surface level that's curving, because that's nonsense. Doesn't even make sense as a sentence. It's a contradiction in terms. Anyway, you can check out that video on Freemasonry, but moreover, I'm more keen for my audience to actually let Eric Dubay know that we've covered his video. I don't want the lasting taste for Eric Dubay to be that we just don't want him to talk about Freemasonry, because that is not the case, hence me sharing Paula's video immediately that she suggested from the chat. My point is that get to the nub of the main argument for people, and that's that is Earth flat or not? Are they showing us the horizon and telling us it's curved because they want to deceive us about the actual nature of Earth? Yes. Should we get into why? No, let's get into how. How do we prove it with this measurement that they're using off surface level? That's how we prove it.
Finally, the mission was named New Shepherd, as in herding a new flock of sheep, which is clearly what they are attempting to do.
I agree with. At least she ended strong.
I was just going to say the same thing that I'll agree with.
Yeah, I'll agree with, leave it to Eric to make sure he's satisfying every member of his audience before the end of his video, me included in this instance. Yeah, absolutely, this is for the sheeple, but that's what makes it most, that's why I wanted to cover this. Remember now why I covered it, because I'm like halfway through going, why, this is annoying. I'm telling Eric off, that's not the intention. But right at the end, he's redeemed himself beautifully for why I wanted to cover this video. It's not for the sheeple. Yes, it's for the sheeple, but they're all running amok saying it looks fake. So they're not getting in the pen, and the dog barking at them's not doing anything, Bezos being the dog.
Trying to make a new generation of women.
I like this thumbnail too. This is like The Dish. If anybody wants to, I'm not going to do it, but if you want to as an audience member, Google The Dish, an Australian film. And this is kind of a bit like a thumbnail. It's got a TV in a field with a whole load of sheep around it, looking at the moon landing on the TV. Very reminiscent of what's on screen now. But Eric, for anyone just listening to this, has got this sheep looking at a TV screen with the blue marble on it. And the caption is, "Ballers be like proof." Very good.
All hyped up for these supposed space achievements.
Very good. So yes, I'll do it one more time, but please let Eric Dubay know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed, although I can't imagine anybody, although people from the opposite side do go along and do as I am suggesting, but just from a Ball Earth point of view to share their pain rather than help Eric in the YouTube algorithmic love, which he does anyway, even if you're sharing your pain with him in his comments. But do toddle along to Eric Dubay and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that just alludes that we have covered his video. Don't necessarily tell him you should have really pointed out that the flat earth got measured off sea level, but it's up to you if you did want to do that. Obviously, I'd like Eric Dubay to be in the know in that regard. I'm sure he is in the know. It's just there's a useful opportunity to point it out when they start measuring their heights off surface level. Might as well point it out they're using our flat earth measurements. So why not utilise it back when they're in their videos? That's my attitude. Anybody disagree?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Now, how much more powerful would that video have been if as soon as he gave the height, he pointed out how it came off surface level, laid it down flat, the way it's supposed to be, then you get on to all your other stuff. It would have had such more of an impact, I believe.
Yeah, completely agree. There'd have been a lot more impact on terms of people recognizing the flat Earth that's being measured by them. What are they going to do? Deny that their height's off surface level? They specifically quoted it. 110 people watching. Woo-hoo-hoo! Massive thank you to everyone who shared the show. Really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please share the show. It's like 2 clicks. It's really easy. Yeah, so that was Eric Dubay. Katy Perry kissed the ground and she liked it. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I say, personally, I hope they keep doing this because it doesn't seem to be working out very well in their favor. So please, NASA and Blue Origins and Bezos and Elon, keep going. I'm loving this, to be honest.
But they've got to fake it. You know, the technology hasn't suddenly come on leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. So it's just Bezos faking it, where NASA typically play their cards quite close to their chest. So you're not calling them out. It is intentionally boring. This is a full out sending celebrities up into space. Then you've got the eyes of the normie masses on it. Because it's got their favourite celebrity in it. If it's, you know, your...
yeah.
So they're all calling it out for nonsense. That seems like a dangerous game to play. Why pass that over to Bezos to do? Why not just have NASA keep doing it the way they've done it already? Cards close to their chest. It's rhetorical. There isn't really an answer. But it does directly make people start to question NASA. Or if Bezos is faking it, why wouldn't they just do the same at NASA? Again, another sentiment from one of the videographers picked out by Banjo. Maybe they want people to notice.
It wasn't just us. Look, Bezos lying too. If it ever comes to that. And look, he did it right in front of everybody with their stupid big wrench to open the door that supposedly could be opened from the inside by these women in space. If they just happened to bump into it during all the research they were doing while floating around and blowing flowers into cameras and whatever research they were doing, because that was research.
In my mind, that's 100% intentional. That gaffe is intentional. They've pre-planned to have a towel ready for her to kneel down on the ground with her flower in hand to kiss the ground. Telling me they didn't rehearse whether or not who was going to open the friggin' door. Of course they did. It was prearranged. That gaffe was there to be noticed. An intentional error. Part of the script. That mistake is part of the script. Like when one of the producers was moaning about Top Gear. I think it was actually Tesla, one of the Tesla guys. They're like, we put our heart and soul in this. We picked up one of the scripts, and it's in the script that the car runs out of power and breaks down. You're like, yeah, because it's all contrived. Of course it's contrived. It's contrived! But anyway, that's what they want us to focus on. That's what people are focusing on. The door being opened. It's a complete waste of time. The sky's not a vacuum. Space is fake. Their height was measured off surface level. Earth was measured flat. Earth will always be measured flat. There is no other way to measure Earth. Earth is flat. Space is fake. Nobody's going to a place where the gas that we're breathing at high pressure is not filling, in violation of a law of nature known as the second law of thermodynamics. Entropic dispersion laws dictate that the sky is not a vacuum. So outer space, where they say they're travelling to these lights like the moon, they're not. It's all lies. The world's not a sphere. We're on a flat plane and we must be contained to be breathing pressure. Oh, I'm glad we cleared all that up. But yeah, do you agree? They wouldn't have a towel ready for her to kneel on the ground and not have worked out who's opening the friggin' door.
Yeah.
No.
It's really nonsense, man.
Furthermore, they wouldn't have left it in. People are like, oh, it's live. You're like, oh, yeah. Oh, were you there? Were you with your camera? You filmed this live, did you? Live, my ass. You're telling me you can't just remove anything you like from these and then re-edit them after that? Yeah, of course you can.
It's so cringe, to be honest. Like like I would feel so crazy to be a glober, someone who would make myself have to believe that all this nonsense they're showing me is real. Like I would feel crazy. I'd be like, why is it every time they're supposed to be doing something, it looks weird, it looks fake, they're doing messed up things. Like it just doesn't pass the smell test at all. None of this. Like if you believed, you live on a ball. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're catching so much backlash.
All right, we're going to check this out. It's been posted. It's one of my own videos. This is Yale Entropy and Gas Law Debunking Outer Space. And I will put a link to this in a moment.
Describe to you the first law of thermodynamics. The context was, we're going to study a system. That's our thermodynamic system. And for all our purposes, you can imagine that to be some amount of ideal gas trapped inside this piston and cylinder combination. The gas has a certain pressure and a certain volume, and we represent that by a point in this diagram. That defines the state. That's called the state of the gas. We want to look at bulk macroscopic properties, of which pressure and volume is a complete pair. That's all you need. I think I reminded you that you don't need a third axis for temperature, because we have this equation, PV equals nRT. So if you know P and V, you don't need temperature as another variable. That's called the equation of state. You can use this all the time. Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume, feel free to use PV equals nRT.
Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume. Okay.
I take a box and I put some gas molecules on one side, and there's a partition holding them in that side. Then I remove this partition and I wait a little bit, then I know the gas fills up.
Let's just go through that. So we take a gas at pressure. Yeah, like we're breathing, ladies and gentlemen. We are breathing this example. We are at high pressure. What's around this gas for this description of a gas at high pressure? Oh, it's a container. And how do we have this area next to it? What is described by this professor as a vacuum? Obviously, separated by a barrier, as he described. Yet you will also need a container. But what's that? In the world that Katy Perry went up to an area above our head where this exists next to that. No, that does not happen. If there's no barrier, the gas fills the space. That is to say that if there was a sky vacuum without containment, then the gas you are currently breathing would disperse into the volume. Equally. It would disperse and we'd have no gas to breathe. Oh, go ahead.
Or to quote the other video that we've played before, it would fill the available volume. I love how he says that.
Yeah.
Now that's like perfume leaking out of the bottle. Hot and cold, when mixed, will never separate back into hot and cold.
What he's describing now is the irreversibility of the nature of entropic dispersion. So when you let perfume out, you can't grab it again and put it back in the bottle. Same with the gas. If the sky was a vacuum, then the first particle of gas would be like the perfume. It would come out of the ground, dissipate into the sky vacuum to never return. It wouldn't be around for you to breathe. It would disperse into the vacuum. So would the second particle. So would the third particle. And Earth, if it gave off gas, would just be like the perfume he's describing. We wouldn't have gas pressure because it wouldn't have anything to press on if the sky was a vacuum. It would just be an area of volume for the gas to disperse into. For us to never
I have a
form
contention
pressure.
on this point, Nathan, if you have a moment.
Say again, Rich?
Said I have a contention on this point for you, if you have a moment.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
If it's the case that you can't have high pressure next to low pressure, why do we have high pressure closer to the surface of the Earth and then significantly lower pressure where you would say it would be pressing against the container?
Well, to have gas pressure in the first place, you can have dynamic systems. That's how we have weather. But in order to achieve dynamic systems, we must first have gas pressure to form those dynamic systems that you're describing.
But the idea here is that that's a superseding of what you would call the second law of thermodynamics, because the higher pressure and the lower pressure are not being equalized, right?
Yeah, they are. That's the whole point. That's called weather. That's wind.
Right. So for some reason you
so it
can
does. So you just said
supersede
it
the second
won't.
law of thermodynamics, but the globe can't.
Stop. Hello. I've just addressed you and you're wrong. And you're just waffling through me in response to me correcting you. So those processes happen, but they wouldn't happen if we didn't have any gas pressure in the first place. So first you have gas pressure, then you have gas pressure dissipation, in this case, gradiated pressure, that you're trying to appeal to. But you've got to have gas pressure in the first place. That's the point.
All I'm pointing out is that there's a double standard on whether or not the second law of thermodynamics applies to gases moving from high pressure to low pressure.
That is the second time. You've not responded to me a second time. I've just pointed this out. That is the second law. That is gas dispersing, isn't it? High pressure going to low pressure is wind, isn't it?
You would be...
That's a yes or a no question.
Utilizing
it's a yes or no question.
Circular logic.
Yes or no question. So that is entropy. What you're describing to say that's a contradiction to entropy? No, that's a direct example of entropy. You're just wrong. You're starting to piss me off.
I guess in that
you don't
case,
stutter, just acknowledge what I've said. I've correct. Don't stutter, just acknowledge what I've said. That's a direct example of entropy. High pressure to low pressure is usually.
I disagree.
So you're saying high pressure dispersing into low pressure wind is not entropic dispersion? Yeah, it is.
Oh, I was talking to the grander point. I wasn't talking about.
So there is no grander point. You just exampled high pressure to low. No, shut up. That's not a grander point that you made. You made a point about high pressure to low pressure in the exampled system that's already at pressure. You've not addressed what I've put back to you. You've got to have pressure in the first place for that system that absolutely, without question, examples entropic dispersion.
But
high pressure, still talking, is losing badly and making stupid assertions that are wrong, irritating to you when I correct them. You're wrong. You've described high pressure going to low pressure. You haven't addressed the fact that we must have pressure in the first place, which would have never developed if the sky was a vacuum. You haven't addressed what I've said. I've corrected you. It's an example of entropic dispersion that you're giving me and saying it's a contradiction. It's an example of it. Do you want to acknowledge that before waffling through me?
Oh, yeah, sure. Wind is entropy.
Yes, so shut up, you stupid, ignorant idiot. So you've just wasted everybody's time by saying it's a contradiction then? Idiot.
I didn't say
yeah, you did, dickhead. Sit down and shut up.
I mean,
sit down and shut up.
It doesn't make sense.
Shut up.
It doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. You've described entropic dispersion.
High pressure next to low pressure.
Shut up.
Only on a flat Earth.
Retard, shut up. Shut your mouth, dumbass. You've been shown to be wrong and you haven't acknowledged. You haven't thanked me for correcting you.
About this.
Can you shut your mouth? You've been shown to be wrong. You haven't acknowledged how wrong. Now you're just waffling through me. What a prick.
Hello,
prick. I'm telling you, not asking. Shut your dumb mouth. You've told me that an example of entropic dispersion, high pressure too low, is actually the contradiction that I'm not, dealing with? You were wrong, idiot. Why aren't you acknowledging how bleeding wrong you were? Yeah, it is an example of entropy.
Probably the worst of them so far.
It's rhetorical, you stupid dumbass. It's an example of entropic dispersion. High pressure to low. They say, oh, yeah, that's... Yeah, you were saying it's a contradiction of that. Now, what about acknowledgement of the fact that we've got to have pressure to begin with? If the area of volume was a vacuum, then we'd never have developed pressure to have this argument where an idiot doesn't understand that his example of high pressure moving to low is entropy, is entropic dispersion. Why am I getting yammered through by a wanker? Wanker, I'm talking.
You're rambling.
Wanker, it's my fucking show.
I know, but...
So shut up, you stupid, ignorant dumbass.
Wanted to debate the topic.
What an arsehole. You're just wrong. You've said that high pressure going to low pressure defies what I've described when gas fills
that's another
space.
straw man.
Now you're just talking through me.
Yeah, because you're lying about me.
How did you think there was a debate in the topic when your example of high pressure to low pressure requires pressure? How do you have pressure? You can't have one without...
No, but this is just circular.
Now he's talking through Chocolate. What a wanker. Before Chocolate got to the end of the point that demolishes his, he's already talking through him. So you're not going to do it to me. You're not going to do it to Chocolate. You're just an asshole.
I'm sorry you don't like to be responded to, Nathan.
No,
gas fills
we
space
like to be-
in all examples. Without exception, gas fills space. It's a law of nature. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. Like high pressure would go to low pressure, like in my opponent's example that he didn't acknowledge how wrong he was about. Now I've addressed
But
you.
if it's a dynamic
And what
system,
you've
it doesn't
done in the
necessarily
middle
go
of
from
my
high to low,
conclusion
right?
is started talking through the top of me, effectively muting my
You
conclusion.
already made a point.
So now you're
Defending that
continuing
point.
to
This is
mute
how a
my conclusion,
conversation works.
and I haven't finished or invited a response. But being a wanker, you've decided that you're going to talk through the end of the conclusion. I utilised
That's your strategy.
now
You
you're
don't
still
invite
talking
a
through my
response.
conclusion. It's the third time you've done it because you're an asshole. Are you going to tell me I'm rambling on my own show? So in conclusion, rhetorical, my friend, rhetorical. In conclusion, I'll use my opponent's example of
all you
wind.
ask are rhetorical questions.
Gas fills space. It's a statement of fact. It's a law of nature. Not a rhetorical question.
Evenly?
A statement of fact.
Evenly? It fills it...
So yes, gas fills space. It's a law of nature, and you're asking me about whether or not it does it evenly. My example will be your example. High pressure moving to low pressure.
What? How is that?
My example is your example of high pressure moving to low pressure.
Right, but...
Yeah, right. So sit down, you dumbass ball-believing clown. You've been defeated. Right you are. Yeah, right. Yeah, so you don't get to yammer through me like a disingenuous, ignorant baller. Yeah, I know I'm right, dumbass.
Does it do that evenly if you don't have the container?
Yeah, does it do that evenly without a frigging container, dum-dum? Does it do that evenly? Yeah, right. Yeah, so I am right, but I don't need to be asked about whether I'll do it evenly. Yeah, it will disperse into space. It's a law of nature.
Well, if it doesn't do it evenly...
Not if. It's a law of nature, you utter clown who isn't acknowledging a single smegging word I say. You're whistling past every word I say and yammering and chanting through me and moaning about it like I don't want to debate you. No, it's not an if statement. It's a law of nature. Gas fills space.
Yeah, the
you gonna
evenly
let me
thing
speak,
doesn't
or are you
really,
just gonna
really matter,
cry?
bro. Because if the gas is doing anything, it's doing something because it's contained. Because to have pressure in the first place, you need a container. That's literally the definition of gas pressure. The force that gas exerts on the wall.
This is you engaging in the...
Yeah, before Chocolate's finished his statement, the guy's waffling through the top so he doesn't have to acknowledge what Chocolate's saying because he's being absolutely pummeled. His only response is to talk while we're talking, to cause audio chaos and annoy us. So this is the last bastion of these idiot ballers. All right, I can't respond to a law of nature, so I'm going to put it into an if statement and then chant through every word you say so I don't have to respond to you. You're not a reasonable opponent, sir. You haven't acknowledged a single word you've had in defeat of your position. You just keep talking through everyone.
Because I haven't been defeated.
Yeah, gas fills space. The sky's not a vacuum. I don't need any help, Neil. Maybe you hadn't picked up on that fact. Don't need any help. Gas fills space. That is me winning by destroying your sky vacuum.
Moderating your own debate makes you look like you lose.
So gas fills space. It's a law of nature. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we are breathing would have dispersed into that area of volume.
What if it's a dynamic system?
Then we'd need containment to form the pressure in the first place. I've already said it.
Why?
Because gas has to press on something to be at pressure.
Yeah, it could press against...
Yeah, it'd have to press on something, so it'd need a frigging container.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the sky was a vacuum, we'd have no gas to breathe.
Who says it has to be a physical container?
So we'd need a container. Yeah, that's right. It needs to be physical, otherwise you wouldn't be pressing on it. If it's not physical, you can't press on it.
Kind of sounds like...
So does it need to be a tangible container?
So what we can't have is a sky vacuum. The sky's not a vacuum because you can't press on a vacuum. You don't press on vacuums, gas disperses into them. Therefore, the sky is not a vacuum. I don't give a toss what you want to question me about with regards to what contains the gas. It must be under containment. It's at pressure. That goes without saying. Meanwhile, if the sky was a vacuum, we'd all be dead.
You haven't shown that.
Yeah, because gas fills space. It's a law of nature.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. So it would fill the space. It's a law of nature, you utter retard. So do we need to show it? It's a law of nature. Gas fills space. So if the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. It's not a vacuum.
Crybaby.
Sorry, is your response to me pointing out the sky not being a vacuum to call me a crybaby?
Yeah, because you're repeating the same thing.
What, the winning argument that the sky's not a vacuum, there's no outer space to travel to, Katy Perry and all her nonsense, hasn't deceived the masses, because the sky's not a vacuum, that's the overarching lie that needs to be maintained by talking about a door that holds in pressure when they're looking back on high-pressure gas not filling a vacuum in direct violation of the law of nature known as the second law of thermodynamics. That's not me crying, it's me debunking an entire worldview. Do you want to tell me I'm crying again as a rebuttal?
You crying.
Sorry, you telling me I'm crying is an ad hominem attack and non sequitur. It's also not true. I am not crying. So that is a failure. Telling me that I am moderating my own debate so I can be perceived to win when your response is to tell me that I'm crying in the face of a law of nature that you've affirmed with your own argumentation points. You telling me about wind and how high pressure goes to low pressure isn't really you achieving anything other than yammering through me right now. Why are you doing that?
All you do is ignore the opposition.
So you told me that high pressure went to low, and I pointed out that that would be you acknowledging that dispersion laws of entropy apply. You said yes.
Is that all you heard me say?
Is that all I heard you do? Acknowledge how you got defeated by me using your own argument against you? You've just told me I don't acknowledge anything in the argument, and yet I've used your own argument and your own words against you with your position. Yeah, that's absolutely me winning with your point. All you've done is yammer through every single defeat that I've put you through with your own words. You don't acknowledge any of the defeats that you've suffered here when I disprove a sky vacuum. What you can do is mute me in the middle of me saying these things, though, by talking through me. You've managed that quite successfully. You've also managed quite a few ad hominem attacks by telling me that I'm crying rather than addressing the second law of thermodynamics. You've affirmed it with high pressure to low pressure. So you're not winning. I am. You're using multiple fallacies and talking through me to try and mute me. To what?
Pointing out that you're crying is not a fallacy.
Right, you talking through the end of every statement that I make is you muting me.
I'm sorry, man. You said that he's ignoring the opposition. The opposition only had basically questions.
That's the best.
Chocolate's got about 4 words out, and this guy's decided it's his turn to talk. Just keeps talking through him. His only tactic, this arsehole, is to keep talking through everybody who's addressing him so he doesn't have to address anything that they say. Because he knows that listening to anything we've actually got to say in its entirety will result in anything he says being used against him and his position being taken to pieces. So his only response at this point is to constantly yammer through everything that's being said.
Yeah, projection is real, Nathan.
Everybody and asking how I'm muting you. How I'm muting you if I'm speaking over you? How I'm muting you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, bro.
That's a good question.
The problem is you said that...
How I can hear your argument if I'm speaking over you? Can you tell me, Rich?
It's a good question, isn't it? Why does Nathan keep over-talking me then,
How I can hear your argument if I speak over you?
So what's happened
dude,
is
you said Nathan was ignoring the opposition. So far, the opposition has only had questions about what happens after the concession. So does this happen in a dynamic system? Does this happen evenly? Does the container have to be physical? I mean, all these things require the container in the first place. You get that? So he's
That's
not
just
ignoring
begging the
anything.
question.
We're going by your concession that it requires a container. Like you even
Exactly, that's
said,
my
you have
begging the
question.
question.
Example
You're
of
begging the
opposite,
question that
Rich?
it's a
Rich, do
tangible
you have any
container.
example of opposite that there is no container for any demonstration of that? Then we will discuss these things.
no, it's not begging the question. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. You've got to have pressure with it pressing. So it's antecedent consequent. It doesn't beg the question to say that in order to be at pressure, you must be pressing upon something.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
if there's
your
pressure,
example
Do
of
you have
high
any
14.7,
pressure.
citation that is
14.7
saying
Sasha, shut up.
psi
Do you have any
at
Sasha,
sea
citation
shush.
saying
level,
opposite?
Sasha,
that's
shush.
pressing against the ground, right?
So gas expands in all directions, not just downward. So it'd have to press on
Unless
something.
it's a dynamic system, which would
So it'd have
stop
to
it from
press on.
continuing.
Maybe you could just mute me. Maybe you can just mute me by talking through me.
Oh my God, what a fucking cry.
So now you need to swear at me. Yeah,
Get them out.
Yeah, gas pressure needs something to press on to be at pressure, and gas expands in all directions, not just down. Second time.
And
And he
how
ran
you
away.
measure the gas
So
pressure?
you
Sasha.
think so you think that just
Sorry.
saying dynamic system it takes away the antecedent that you require for gas pressure, which is a container? You think just saying dynamic system that helps you out?
Yeah,
It's actually worse for you.
First, you have gas pressure. Did the guy run away?
We started cutting him off, so he ran
Has
away.
he
Yes,
dealt
he
with
ran
the
away.
existing gas pressure?
Sorry, hold on a second. Say again, Roger.
I was Ranger. He ran away.
Oh, sorry, Ranger.
Yeah, they all run away, never dealing with the existing gas pressure in the first place.
Apparently,
If
having
there are,
gas.
if they,
But
if there is
while
a force
bringing
of
up
them,
the gas pressure in the first place by saying high pressure to low pressure. All right, so pressure then. Thanks. Welcome to Flat Earth.
It doesn't have to be physical.
Yeah, it does.
What, the container you said that we don't need? That doesn't have to be? Yeah, container. Thanks. Pressure.
Yeah, because he
I
wants
want
to
to
go
see
to
one
gravity.
non-physical container. I want to see one non-physical container. That would be nice.
So, in conclusion, gas fills space. Yeah, you can't have gas pressure that we're all breathing without containment. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we're all breathing would fill that space. That's the point of having distraction gate. Yeah, the moment we point out that if our eyes are on the ground looking at the door, we're not looking at the gas that's not filling the area of volume. So up in the high pressure container that they're in, they've got to stop their gas filling that area that they're in. But the gas below, it's cushy, it's fine. It doesn't need any containment. It's just fine lurking around next to a vacuum. In spite of Harvard and Yale making it explicitly clear that that's a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. So what have we got? Clown Shoes here comes in and tells us, nah, it's begging the question to say that you need something to press on to be pressure. No, it isn't. It's an antecedent. You can't be at pressure unless you're pressing on something. Oh, well then just down then. Just down with gravity. That's where that argument was going to be going for that Clown Shoes that didn't shut up and listen to any responses while he projected on me crying while he waffled through every single response he never acknowledged one of. Coward. All of you. So let's hear the conclusion from Yale rather than a clown that doesn't want to shut up.
Out of the bottle won't go back. This gas that came out won't go back. There's a whole lot of processes which we call irreversible.
So gas goes out into the area of volume available to it. Always, without exception, it's a law of nature. And it won't go back. So the first gas particle comes out of the ground in the heliocentric bullshit world of sphere Earth in sky vacuum. The gas comes out and like perfume, it leaks out of the bottle and won't go back. So it's not going to form pressure because it's not pressing on anything. It's dispersing into the volume that you all think the sky vacuum is. We'd never be breathing if the sky was a vacuum.
They never seem to happen backwards. They only happen forwards. And we cannot list all of them.
I will take... Yeah, that's my conclusion. I've already given it during the process itself. Any last comments?
Yeah, I never thought I would hear winning as crying.
Any more for any more?
Why pressure does not equalize everywhere the same?
Dynamic systems must be
I was just,
under pressure.
I was just gonna say that unless it's a dynamic system.
Oh Jesus, we have dynamic system.
Yes. Right, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
He was trying to get to gravity with the container. Doesn't have to be physical. We know exactly where he was going, but we constantly give them gravity. I
No, we
hate
don't.
that.
No, I didn't. I was like, gas doesn't go down, it goes in all directions. I cut his legs off. That's where he ran. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They need gas go down, go boom, boom. That's the next step. If I say gas expands in all directions, where's he going to go? Is he going to assert that the gas is held down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash towards the Earth with gravity? Or bent Pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional space-time bending? No, gas expands in all directions. At the point that I pointed that out, he ran.
Yeah, at the end of the video, the guy said it doesn't go back, right? So that's the end of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going up and then coming back down again like a bouncy ball. It's not what goes up must come down. No, it doesn't come back. It's a law of nature. But they've got to come in and tell us, you're just begging the question. What, when I've got Harvard and Yale telling me that's a law of nature? No, I don't think so.
His only other avenue was the it doesn't feel evenly. The Earth even said that it doesn't do that on Earth, and it does. That's why we have wind and changing weather conditions and things like that. So it's always trying to even out.
You can't have anything without containment anyway.
True, but just so that everybody else understands that, it's always trying to fill evenly. High pressure is always going to low pressure with wind, temperature change, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a law of nature.
I disagree with the law of nature.
You're begging a question with that law of nature.
He even said that doesn't happen on Earth. We got another second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a law, it's me begging the question, and it doesn't apply to Earth, this law of nature. Yes, that's what we've got from our opponents, that's where we're at. Meanwhile, I'm told I'm a crybaby while he rumpuses the ever-living shit out of me. How fun was that for you guys in Discord?
That was definitely fun. I was waiting to hear his proof for gravity. That was the next one.
They've got tactics. Their tactics being, I'm going to rumpus the crap out of this.
It wasn't so bad in Discord.
Now, my favorite was you keep repeating yourself. Yeah, gas fills space. It's a law of nature. Nathan.
Yes.
When is the next session?
Wednesday, next time we're doing the book. Is that what you're asking?
Excellent. I'm getting very antsy.
Yeah, me too.
It seems like something's always happening to delay it. But then when we get to it, a lot gets done. Like the last time, I thought it was a good session.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe by the end of summer? What do you think?
I would hope so, yeah, Neil. Something like that.
Any of the Globers want to tell us all about dynamic systems with no containment?
Mumble. Didn't hear a word of that.
Yeah, we're going to have to decipher what you just said, Chocolate.
Or not. I mean, maybe not. We'll figure it out tomorrow, maybe. I'm going to round out the after
Sorry,
show.
had a coworker talking to me. No, I just said, do any other Globers want to tell us about dynamic systems with no containment? But if you're going to round out, go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to round out. Thanks for watching. I've just done another outro, so I'll just do this one for the after show.